Hi everyone. So in today's video, we will write a function that will take an array as an input, and it will check what are the elements that appears more than once in that array, and it will return that list of the array. Okay, list of the elements that are appearing more than one time in an array. And if we don't find any such element, like all the elements are appearing only one time, then we'll return a blank array. Okay, so this is the problem that we have. So here I have a very simple array of numbers. So you can see this array of numbers. So this will you will pass this this array as a input for this function, and this function will return us what are the elements that are appearing for more than one time in that array. So it will return that. Now to think about how do we solve this problem, we can have a very simple approach. So here we'll pick a first item. Okay, so we'll pick the first item from the array, which is 1. So we'll store the current item as 1, and we will create an array which will store all the duplicate items. Okay, we will create an array. Okay, so first we'll take this item, the first item, that is 1. Now we will check what are the other elements in that array. Okay, so we'll pick the first item and we'll store it in the current item, and then we'll check what are the other items. So we'll start from 2. So and now we have 1 and 2, so we'll check if 1 and 2 are same. If same, then we'll store them in the list, and if it is not same, then we'll move on to the next element. So 1 and 2 are not the same, so we'll move on to the 3. So right now we are in the 3. So we are checking, okay, so if the current item that we are in that item and the originally item that we had stored, that is 1, if these are same or not. So if it is the same, then we'll store this in the list. If it is not the same, then we'll just skip to the next item. So if it is not the same, so we'll move on to the next one, that is 5. Okay, that's fine. Now we'll move on to the 2, that is also not the same. We'll move on to the 4, then 1. Then we are encountering 1. Okay, so this current item, this is actually matching with the original item that we had stored. So since it is matching, so we'll just store that item in the list. Okay, that is the first thing. And we don't need to check for the further items. You can check, but it's unnecessary because since we have already encountered one occurrences, so that can be marked as a duplicate item. Okay, that is done. Now we will do the same thing for the 2 also. So we will pick the 2 from here and we'll store the 2 here. Okay, so at this point our current item is 2, and now from onwards 2 we will check. So we will pick the item as 3. Okay, so right now we have the 3. So if 3 is matching with 2 or not, if it is matching, then we'll store them in the duplicate list. It is not matching, so we'll move on to the next item, that is 5. 5 is also not matching, and then we are encountering 2 again. So 2 is once again matching, so we'll put the 2 here. Okay, and since we have found one duplicate item, so we don't need to check further. So we'll move on to the next item, which is 3. So we'll pick 3 here, we'll write the 3 here. Okay, so at this point we are in 3, and now we'll check from 5. So 5 is not the same, 2 is not the same, 4 it is not the same, 1 it is still not the same, 5 it is still not the same, and 1. We have reached end of the list, and that is also not the same. So that means 3 is an unique item. So will not store that 3 in that duplicate list. Similarly, we will continue the for the this iteration for the rest of the list, and at the end we will have a list. We will return the duplicate list which will store all the duplicate items, or all the items which are appearing for more than one in that array. So that is a very simple approach. So now we will try to implement that. So now we'll write the code. So at first we'll create an array called duplicates. It will be an empty array initially, and now we will loop through the item. So I will have the current item, so we'll store the current item here in a variable. And for each of the items, so each of the current item, so we have picked one. So for each of the item we have to traverse through the entire list. So we'll do another looping which will start from the next iteration, which will start from the next index of the current element. Okay, so we'll loop another item. So it will start from I plus 1, since it is starting from the next index of the current item. Okay, so at this point we have to check if the current item and the current, if this original current item and any of the next item, next element, if it is same or not. So if it is the same, then we will store them into the duplicate array. So we will check if the current item becomes equal to the any of the other items. So nums j. and also we will check if that item is not already there in the duplicates array. Okay, so we'll check. So this is a duplicate item and that item is not already there in the duplicate list, so we'll store that in the duplicate list. So that way we will do that, and at the end we will return duplicates. So that is the logic. Now if we try to run this code, so here we are already calling this function and we are passing this array. Okay, now we will try to run this code. If we refresh the screen, so you can see we are getting this as an output. So you can see, we are getting this output. Okay, so it is giving us all the elements which are duplicate in the array. So if you just see carefully, you can see 1, 2 and 5. These are the elements which are appearing for more than one time in that array. So this is how you can write the logic. So this code is working fine, but there is an issue with this code, which is that you can see we are doing two level of looping. Okay, so since we are doing two level of looping, so here the time complexity will be on of 2. Okay, or you can say on square. So this is not a very this is not a very performant or very efficient approach, especially when the array are really long. Okay, so this code works, but we can do better. So now we will try to figure out a better approach for the same problem. So here we will create an object. Okay, and that object will have two things. It will have a key and it will have a value. So the key, in the key we will have the whatever element. Okay, element will be key and the value will be the number of occurrences of that element in that array. So how I will do it? So first we will loop through the array, simply just looping. So we are at this point, we are in this first element 1. So we will check if that 1 exists in this array, in this object or not. Okay, if it is not exist, then we will add it in the object and we will make its count as 1. And similarly we will check for the next element, that is 2. We will check if 2 is existing in this object or not. So it is not existing, so we will add 2 and its count as 1. Now similarly we will do the same checking for 3, 5. So we will add 3 and 5 here as well, both the count as 1. Now once again we are encountering 2, so we can see 2 is already there in that object. So what we will do, we will not add 2 once again. Instead we will check what is the count of that 2. It is 1. So since we have once again encountered 2, we will just increase its count. So we will make the count as increase by 1, that is 2. Now once again we have encountered 4, so 4 is not there. So we'll add 4 here and set the count as 1. Now once again we have encountered 1, so 1 is already there, so we'll increase its count by 1. Now once again we have encountered 5, so 5 is already there, so we'll increase the count by 1 and becomes 2. Now once again we have encountered 1, so 1 count is 2, so we'll just increase by 1 and it becomes 3. So this is the final object that we'll get. Okay, we'll get this kind of object where the key is the key is the element. What is the element? And the value will be the number of occurrences of that element. And that way, once we get the object, we'll simply loop through the object properties and we will check what are the elements for which the count is more than 1. We'll just take those items and we'll just return them in an array. So in this way, you can see this time complexity will be O of n, because we are only looping through the array one time. We are not doing the looping through the array multiple times. So with the new approach, so first we will create an object and we'll also create an array which will store the duplicate item. So now we will loop through the array item one by one and we'll check what is the current item. So we'll create a variable called current item. And now we will check if that current item is already present in the object or not. So if it is not present, then we'll just add it. So we'll check here if the current item is already there or not. So if it is already not there, then we'll take the count as 0 and we'll just increase at the end, we'll increase the count as 1. So here what we are doing, we are checking. So suppose we are checking 1. So one object of 1, so it doesn't exist. Okay, so it will give undefined. So since it is undefined, we'll take the count as 0 and then we'll just increase the count by 1. And if it is already there, then we'll already be getting the count here and then we'll just increase the count by 1. Now to check, we can just simply log this count. Okay, so we can console log the count. If we refresh the screen, we can see in the object the key, or you can say the property, all the properties are the array items and the corresponding value It is a count. It is the how many times that specific array item is present. So now we will simply loop through the object properties and we'll check what are the items that is present for more than one. We'll check if that key value, if the value is more than one or not. Okay, we'll check if the value is for more than one, then we can store that in the duplicates. Okay, and then at the end we'll just return the duplicates. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And if we just refresh the screen, so you can see it is giving us the output as 442. And let's just verify. Okay, so this is the parameter that we had passed, this is the array that we had passed. So what are the elements that is appearing for more than one in that array? So we are seeing the output as 442, but this does not seem to working as expected, right? So if we just try to print the console log once again, the count. Okay, so we have made a mistake here. So we are actually storing the values. Okay, we don't want to store the value here. Okay, so actually we are looking for the items which are present for more than one. So instead we will be storing the keys here. Okay, so we will not store the value here. So at this point, if we just see, we are getting 1 2 5. Is it the correct output? 1 2 5. Yes, yes. So 1, 2, and 5. These are the elements which are appearing for more than one in this array. And that is how you can implement the logic to find what are the duplicate item that is present in that array. And this logic, this problem is very important, and specifically this concept or this technique, that we are doing here. Specifically this first part where we are creating an object, and that object will have all the array elements and their number of occurrences. So this is a very important pattern that you can use to solve any kind of problem, like specifically for the duplicate items. So if you want to find different duplicate items or any other problem regarding the duplicate items in that array, so this technique can be really useful for you. So that's it from my end. I hope this video was useful. So if you have any questions or suggestions, then definitely feel free to put them in the comments. Thanks for watching.